This video focuses on converting a decimal number to binary numbers. Okay, a decimal number is a number which is 0 through 9, and a binary number is 0 through 1. So there's only two options. So basically, you have to convert a decimal number to a binary number. So let's look at the process of doing that. You basically have to remember a progression of numbers, and it is focused on exponents of 2, and that is explained in another video. Okay, so we are going to start with 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and 128. Notice how we just started with 1, and then we just doubled it. So 1 doubled is 2, 2 doubled is 4, 4 and 4 is 8, 8 and 8 is 16, and so on. And basically we're working on networking, and we're working in octets because that is an IP version 4 address, or at least we use 4 octets in an IP version 4 address. So let's just focus on one octet at a time though. So we have your 8 binary bits. So basically we're going to convert a decimal number into binary. So let me go ahead and give you a decimal number. Let me put 64. And 64 is a decimal. We have the numbers between 0 and 9. There's 6 and 4. Both of those are numbers between 0 and 9. 6 is between 0 and 9, and 4 is between 0 and 9. And we are going to convert it to binary. So we have 8 bits that we can convert to either 1 or 0. Okay, but the question is, what is the binary for 64? Well, the process of doing that is you need to see how 64 compares to 128. Can you subtract 128 without getting a negative number? No, you cannot, because 64 is less than 128. So since you can't subtract 128, you need to put a 0 there. Remember, binary, your options are 0 and 1. So here's 128. You can't subtract it. You put a 0. What about 64? Can you subtract 64? Yes, you can. You subtract 64, you get 0. Since you can subtract 64, you put a 1 here. And when we subtracted 64, we got 0. So you can't use any of these other bits because we already have the 64. So now we know what the binary is. The binary, the options of 1 and 0 are 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That is 64 in binary. Okay, so let's try a different number. Let's actually try 67. 67. So we start off with 67 over here. Can you subtract 128 from 67 without going negative? No, we cannot. What about 64? Yes, you can. So then you put a 1 there. You subtract 64 from 67. What's left over is 3. You can't subtract 32, so we'll put a 0. You can't subtract 16 or 8 or 4, but you can subtract 2. So let's go ahead and put a 1 there. Subtract 2 over here, and you're left with 1. You can subtract 1 from 1, so you put a 1 here. You subtract the 1, and you end up with 0. So this is the binary for 67. 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. Not too bad. Okay, let's get a higher number. Let's actually try 208. Okay, so just the same process again. 208. Can you subtract 128? Yes, you can this time, because 128 is less than 208. So we're going to put a 1 here. And what is 208 minus 128? Well, that's 80. Okay, so now let's move on to 64. Can we subtract 64 from 80? Yes, we can. So we put a 1 here, we subtract 64, and the result is 16. So what about 32? Can we subtract 32 from 16 without being negative? No, we cannot. What about 16? Can we subtract 16 from 16? Yes, we can. We get a 0 result, so that means the rest of them end up as 0. Does that make sense? Let me know.